I'm Manuel Hernandez and welcome to Norwich City Central.
Hello everybody, Lewis, Norwich City Central. I hope you're all doing well. Firstly, I hope you've all had a good Christmas, and to be honest, I think you have a good Christmas by avoiding the football. Of course, Norwich City losing 5-0 at home on Boxing Day, Norwich's worst defeat in 9 years, and then Norwich losing 3-0 today against Crystal Palace. It is very, very bleak at the moment, and by the sounds of what's happening at the ground, a lot of fans are having enough, and it's deja vu. I'm having the same conversation with you guys 2 years later, and it is it's probably more depressing and more bleak than what it was 2 years ago as well, which is really, really disappointing. But I hope everyone had a nice Christmas regardless. I kind of want to be talking about Christmas movies and Christmas dinners at the moment, but I don't think you're here to listen to me talk about what I had on my Christmas dinner and what a good day it was. We're here to talk about Norwich losing 3-0 to Crystal Palace. I'd love to hear your thoughts down below in the comments section, because this is going to be a review not just about the game, but also an 8-minute talk about where Norwich City are as a state, as a football club at the moment as well. But let's start by talking about the Palace game. Obviously coming off the back of a 5-0 defeat on Boxing Day to Arsenal. And Norwich City's, like most teams, have had injury problems this season and had COVID problems. Mainly Norwich's COVID problems were a couple of weeks ago we faced Aston Villa, where we had a lot of youngsters, under 23 players on the bench, and we also had our game postponed against West Ham. But now, I don't think any Norwich City players are suffering from COVID apart from Tim Krul. I'm pretty sure everyone else is available. Of course, Norwich have got injuries. The ones I'm thinking of are Grant Hanley and Omar Mammadeli at centre-back, and then Rashita and Norman as well, with Norman being a long-term injury. The other three should be back in the next couple of weeks. So obviously it's disappointing to lose your two best players, but look at Crystal Palace today. They had no Zaha, no Elise, no Eze, and no Gallagher. Four Palace's best players, attacking players, were not in the team, and yet they still comfortably beat us and had a nice stroll around the pitch, didn't they, for large parts of the game. So both teams having injury problems. But Norwich City were completely naive again. And the most shocking stat going into this game of football was that Norwich have scored eight goals in 18 or 19 Premier League games, 5 of them from Pukki, 1 of them from Norman, 1 of them from Hanley, and 1 of them from Mammadeli. We're 18 and 19 games into a Premier League season, and not one of those players in that starting XI have scored a Premier League goal halfway through a Premier League season. And I remember having this discussion 9 or 10 games into the season about Daniel Farke, and I do believe, Daniel Farke is the greatest Norwich City manager in my lifetime. I love the guy, but to give ourselves Premier League survival opportunities, I do believe that it was the right decision to let Farke go. But since Dean Smith's come in, we've won 1 game in 8, and because we're still quite early on in the season, a lot of Norwich City fans, including myself, were really big fans of the recruitment, really like the recruitment. And because we were quite early on into the season, you couldn't really judge Josh Sargent, Leeds Malou, Brandon Williams, all our signings. You couldn't judge them because we're still quite early on, but we're 18 or 19 games in, and you're certainly at a fair point to judge them now. And they've not been good enough, and the old players who've stayed have been far from good enough over the course of the season so far. And if you want to extrapolate the numbers, Norwich are going to need 30 points or 25 to 30 points in the next 19 games. Which is what, Europa League form? That's not happening, is it? It's really not happening. And we're in the same old position as we were 2 years ago, and it's more bleak and it's more worrying, because that team today is a mid-table championship team. No Buendia, none of those real exciting standout players. It's a much more of a bigger problem now for Norwich. But it's a real worry, that game. And on Stuart Webber, as I say, I thought the recruitment at the start of the season was good. On paper, a lot of it was good. But I was always questioning, why did we sign Angus Gunn for 5 million, a reserve backup goalkeeper? Why did we sign 10 million on Josh Sargent, 5 million for Leeds Malou? It's not, And I'm looking at it and I'm thinking that if you're going to use the excuse as a self-funded club and not having much money to play with it, then surely it's an absolute... Why would you sign 10 million on Josh Sargent if you're going to use that assumption? I'm a massive fan of Webber, but these last 2 Premier League seasons he's had have been absolutely diabolical. 2 years ago we didn't have money. This year he's had money, and we've kind of spunked it all up the wall, haven't we? And Stuart Webber's a great man for culture setting and a good man in a football club, but he can't be in charge of Norwich City with the transfer strategy in the Premier League, because it's been far from good enough. And yeah, we're a million miles away. But the game, I mean, Kenny McLean makes a foul in the box. It was a penalty, in my opinion. I honestly believe that. A bit soft, but it was a penalty. And Edouard scores to make it 1-0 Palace. And then it sums up Norwich. We have a free kick. Sorensen miskicks the ball from 5-6 yards. Palace got up the other end. 20 seconds later, I think Schlupp rolls it into Mateta, who's, you know, Palace's third choice striker. Hardly plays a minute. He scores to make it 2-0 Palace. And then Norwich, I think we had another chance as well. We didn't. We with Zolish, which was blocked. But I mean, this Norwich City side have been so toothless in front of goal and so poor in both boxes. I mean, then make it Palace and then make it 3-0. Jeffrey Schlupp scoring. Angus Gunn probably should have done better. And Angus Gunn's what's conceded 17 Premier League goals in 3 games if you include his last one, which was a 9-0 defeat to Leicester. So, yeah, not great for Angus coming back to his boyhood club. The second half, the game was done. Norwich had a couple of opportunities. Porhetta is yet again the only real player who can come out of it with his head held high. I thought Porhetta was okay. Sam Byron was okay. Rowe, the youngster who came on, showed promise, took on his man. But the rest of them, hapless, embarrassing. Chance of you're not fit to wear the shirt from Norwich City fans, and a lot of criticism from journalists. You know, Simon Thomas, who's ever so, I love Simon Thomas, ever so kind of measured and calm, echoing similar thoughts. Ed Ball's not impressed. Yeah, really, really disappointing. And you know, I think Norwich did have a couple of opportunities in this game against Palace, but we've just no belief in front of goal. The main issue for me, though, is when I look at this team and but the back four many times far too deep. But the main issue for me is the midfield three. Billy Gilmore, I think, could go on to have an okay career, but that midfield of Kenny McLean, Gilmore, they've been the main two, and whether it's been Dow with them, Lees Malou in recent weeks, have been nothing short of appalling. I don't know what they do. They have no physicality. Whenever they get the ball, they try and look for an outrageous pass and lose the ball. As I say, don't break up the play. They're always 20, 30 yards away from the defence. And I think Sorensen would be an okay shout as central defensive midfield, but I don't know what they do. They lose the ball a lot. They don't break up play. We're far too easy to play against. Teams just carve through us at the moment. It's really, really bad. And, you know, a few weeks ago, we had a good performance against Man United before COVID, but these last 3 performances have been appalling. And Norwich haven't got these real excuses because that Palace team today were injury-ridden. So where do we go from here? Look, and to be fair to Dean Smith, I think Dean Smith's a good manager, but you can have even the top managers. It's really difficult to work with these group of players at the moment, and I kind of have to think maybe, although I think Farke leaving was the right decision, you know, you can clearly see it's not just his fault. It's not just his fault. It's the recruitment. It's been an absolute shambles, and we always go on about Delia in this kind of conversation and the model, but primarily Stuart Webber's had 60 million, 70 million to work with, and it's been nothing short of embarrassing. The recruitment in hindsight. I mean, it's very easy in hindsight, isn't it, you know, to talk about certain things. On paper, I think a lot of Norwich City fans were happy, but there were a few risks, and those risks have not paid off, and it's really, really backfired. And you see Watford's £4 million Dennis scoring goals. So yeah, an absolute nightmare situation for Norwich, and I feel like we're in the same position again where we've spunked a load of money at the wall, and it's grueling and it's taxing, and I think Norwich City have to have a real look at ourselves as a football club, because yes, we've changed the culture and the identity, but if we continue playing like this, and we've only got a few more opportunities now before it's too late, if it's not already too late, we're going to be confined back to the Championship again in a lot worse position we were 2 years ago. But apart from that, it's Christmas. Enjoy your food, enjoy yourself, try and switch off too much stuff about Norwich, as I say here, talking about a Norwich City video. And yeah, have a good Christmas. But thanks for watching this video. Norwich City go to Leicester away. Fair play for anyone who's going to that game. But yeah, Norwich City embarrassed today and in a real difficult position. Crystal Palace 3, Norwich City 0. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you later.